kids. I'm standing outside of this old barn near Yam Hill, which is just south of the city of Portland, because I've got a story to tell you. Actually, it's more of a fable. You know what a fable is? A fable is a story that may not have happened exactly the way it's told, but it's meant to tell you something that's true anyway. And the story I'm thinking of took place in a little village that was near a very large and growing city. And there was a barn on a piece of property, a little farm that was operated by an old man who had been farming there for generations. And he was known by the locals to grow the best produce, the heirloom tomatoes and vegetables that were all grown organically without the use of pesticides or other fertilizers and so forth. But as the city that was nearby grew, more and more people moved into the countryside, and around the farm housing developments sprung up and shopping malls and so forth. And more that farm just stood on its own amidst the crowded spaces of the more increasingly suburban life, and people came to that farm less and less because they could purchase cheaper fruits and vegetables from the local grocery store that bought in bulk from huge farms. And really over time it was just the locals who came. And one day a developer approached him saying, you know, that your land is the ideal site for the next strip mall. Would you sell me your property? And the man said, oh no, I'm very content to be farming here still. I love this place. I love the connection to the land and to the people here. And well, the developer was very disappointed, and he would regularly come back to the man, and sometimes increasing his offer, the price of the property. But over the years, the man just held firm, and over the years, then the town just kind of grew up around him. But more and more, there's also some contention amongst the newcomers to the area. They wanted that strip mall there. They wanted their Home Depot and Hobby Lobby and the restaurants and so forth. And so there came to be an increasing resentment of that old man. And well, finally, he passed away, and he had no living relatives, and so his property was auctioned off by the state. And well, guess who bought it? Yeah, that developer. And so the day came for the developer to claim the property and to take down the barn, and a couple groups of people showed up. One was actually a group from the local church in the village. They had met in this barn every Christmas Eve, because it was the closest thing they could find to a place where maybe Jesus might have been born if he were born today, this lowly manger. And so they would gather every Christmas. They had for generations in this barn that the old man had let them use, and they simply gather and tell that old story on Christmas Eve. And so those church people showed up, and they said, would you please let us at least have one more Christmas in this barn, so we can tell that story again. And well, the developer said, well, it's October. I can't give you a couple more months before I bulldoze this place. No, I'm sorry. But there's another group from the town. They were the people who had been angry at that farmer. They said, don't bulldoze this place. We'll burn it down for you. We hated that man. We wished he would have sold to you long ago. He stood in the way of what we wanted. Well, the developer, he may not have appreciated the barn like those church people did, but he wasn't going to allow the barn to be burned. But he did call to his crew to start the bulldozers up. They were going to take it down and then cart all the debris to the local dump. But just as the bulldozers were starting, a young woman stepped forward who was a member of that church, and she said, "Sir, I just started a wood shop on the edge of the village, and my specialty is reclaiming old wood that nobody wants anymore. And if you're just going to cart all this stuff to the dump, would it be okay if maybe me and a few friends could dismantle this barn for you and take it away?" Well, the developer really could care less about what happened to that wood, so he said, well, you've got one day. Well, she and her friends from that church, they showed up the next day, and they worked from dawn to dusk, just carefully pulling the nails out and stacking the wood. And she brought that wood to her wood shop, where she dried out the wood and began to work that wood, sanding it down and lovingly care for it. And well, lo and behold, that wood turned out to be so utterly beautiful, wood you just can't find these days because it had so much character to it. So the years of weather and marks from carriages accidentally slamming into the wood and so forth. And so just had all these love marks all over the wood. And people from the village found that she had sanded down wood that they thought could go up on their walls when they were remodeling their living room. And other people found furniture that she had made, tables and chairs, and even whimsical things like picture frames and coat hooks. And well, they each wanted a little piece of that old barn to grace their house with the beauty of that wood. So fairly soon, all the wood of that barn was gone. They were in the people's houses from that village. Well, that next Christmas Eve, the church folk just gathered in their church sanctuary because they had no barn they could gather in anymore. But as they began to tell that old story there and sing those old carols, they recognized that that story had become more familiar to them than ever before, because every time they saw a piece of that old barn wood in their house, it reminded them of the Christmas story. And far from seeing it as obsolete or outdated or no longer useful, they discovered that those truths that the story was trying to tell them was actually helping them in their lives in the modern world, just as much as it probably ever helped anybody in the ancient world. The part of the Christmas story that really moves me is the way it's trying to tell me about a God who loves us so much that God would never be content to be comfortable when we are hurting. This God steps down off the throne and dwells on earth with us, stands with us, beside us and inside us, helping to guide us through our own struggles and encouraging us to stand with others who struggle and to offer love to them like we've experienced ourselves. Will you pray with me? Holy God, we thank you for loving us so much that you would never be content to remain at peace when we suffer. Help us increasingly to look for the ways you seek to help us in the heart of our struggles. And help us also to offer love to others as we have received love ourselves, to stand with others as they struggle, that together we may find healing and hope, courage and joy as we discover deeper and deeper relationship with you and our neighbor and this old, old story. Amen.